Charles Rane is a notorious British terrorist who has orchestrated multiple bombings, assassinations, and other heinous crime. However, he has never been arrested, despite his criminal history. Actually, Charles is also an escape artist, using his power and deception to outsmart the police. In the first scene, we see him in a surgery room, with several doctors surrounding him. It seems Charles is about to have a surgery that will completely alter his face. This is the 10th time he is about to do so. The head doctor asks him if he needs any painkillers to endure the pain, but Charles refuses, saying he likes pain. He wants to undergo the surgery in a completely conscious state. Outside the building, some cops have gathered. They have been tipped off about Charles's location, and they are here to break into the surgery room and catch him. However, before they launch into the mission, the chief cop informs them that Charles is a deadly assassin who can kill several men with ease. They slowly move towards the 13th floor where the surgery is to be held. Unfortunately for them, Charles is well prepared. When the cops come into the room, he kills the chief doctor and avoids all bullets and then runs down the corridor. Charles then smashes through a glass window and jumps out of the building. Even though he is free falling from the 13th floor, he doesn't get hurt at all. He is even able to run at full speed as if jumping from buildings is his forte. However, no matter how fast he runs, the cops have cars and they eventually corner him. In this way, the notorious Charles Rane is finally apprehended after 15 years of elusiveness. Then it's a flying airplane and a pretty flight attendant named Marta is taking care of the passengers, one by one. It looks like it's going great until a dark figure with a gun seizes her and takes her hostage. If she does not comply, he will kill her. Marta, in turn, slaps him in the leg and a nearby passenger is able to remove the gun from his hand. Then everyone begins to clap, and it's finally revealed that this was all a drill to teach the flight attendants how to defend themselves. The shady-looking guy is John Cutter, decorated soldier, and retired Secret Service agent who is known for his tough stance on high-level crime. After some time, the general manager of Atlantic International Airlines, Sly Del Vecchio, comes to take John away. It appears as if the two are good friends. Sly asks him to get back in the business and serve the nation once again, but John refuses. He says that he doesn't want to put his life at the risk of others anymore. Nonetheless, Sly offers him a job as the head of the counter-terrorism unit in Atlantic International Airlines. After some thought, John agrees when he is told that he will only have to work twice a month. Elsewhere, Charles is escorted to his cell, where his attorney is waiting for him. The latter reveals that the authorities are planning to take him to California and execute him in the chair. It can only be avoided if Charles pleads insanity. Unfortunately, the infamous terrorist isn't taking the hint and starts beating the attorney on the table, saying, "I am not insane." The next shot shows a shirtless John in meditation and reminiscing about his past. The film then cuts back to a couple of years ago when John and his late wife are strolling through a convenience store. One day a robber comes there and tries to rob money from the counter. John, a man of integrity, attempts to dissuade him, but the robber has his wife as hostage. All of the people in the store flee, but the robber still shoots the poor woman. Eventually, John slays him, but on his return to check on his wife, she is already dead. It was a traumatic experience for him and he left his job as a special agent and went into hiding for months. John is preparing for his first day at work. He has to stay anonymous and guard a large Lockheed airline with almost 200 passengers in it. John is assigned with seat number 57, hence the name of the movie. Just as it happens, Charles gets on the plane, along with two FBI agents, suggesting the plane is flying to California. One of the flight attendants is Marta, while the other one is a beautiful young girl named Sabrina. Meanwhile, a little boy sees Charles and shoots an imaginary gun at him. The cold-hearted killer in turn feigns death. When he shoots the boy back, however, his cuffs are seen, causing the passengers near him to be alarmed. They begin to think that the flight is unsafe, and Sabrina tells them that it is safe. She then calls a strange-looking staff in the lower deck and requests him to send this special service. The guy obliges and puts a metal briefcase on the waiting tray. At the same time, John, who is annoyed by his chatty seatmate, gets up and heads to the restroom to have some alone time. When he locks the door, Sabrina takes out the contents from the metal box, which is a gun. She then runs towards the two innocent FBI agents and shoots them in the head, to everyone's horror. Once Charles has freed his cuffs, 3 of his goons get up from their seats and threaten everyone to keep their mouths shut. Here, it is revealed that Charles had it all planned out from the beginning. On reaching their knowledge that the agents were escorting him in a commercial aircraft, he immediately employed some people to hijack the aircraft. In the following scene, Charles goes to the cockpit and shoots one of the pilots dead to establish himself as the leader. Then, he tells the radio crew that they will be changing course and that the plane is now hijacked. However, if the passengers remain calm and obey his orders, no harm will come to them. John, who is still in the bathroom, hears it all and becomes scared. He somehow manages to get a hold of the plane's onboard phone and explains the situation to his friend, Sly. After that, he easily subdues one of the hijackers, seizes his gun, and then uses him as a shield to face Charles. The latter also grabs Marta, creating an intense showdown between the two. But Charles soon lets go of the flight attendant and shoots an innocent man to make his point. He then shoots at John, but it ends up killing one of his henchmen. When it is all the way down, John and Marta take advantage of the commotion and run away from there, into the elevator, and take it all the way down to the cargo hold. There, they come across the suspicious-looking guy from earlier, and inquire if he knows anything about the hijackers. The man pretends to be shocked, but at an opportune moment, he whips out a knife and tries attacking John. The two then go into a fierce duel, and at the end, our protagonist manages to kick the bad guy out of the game with a great kick. Marta and John tie him up, then go to the avionic part of the aircraft, where John suggests that they unload all the fuel and make an emergency landing. But Marta is adamant against the concept, as it may lead to an accident. However, when John tells her it's the only way, she lets him go. When the fuel starts to run low, the two head towards the landing gear, where they can jump out of the plane with only a few injuries. Fortunately, the plan is successful, and when Charles discovers that they are running low on fuel, he asks the pilots to land at the closest airport. Meanwhile, at the Atlantic International headquarters, Sly and his superiors find out that the hijacked plane is preparing to land at a small airstrip in Lake Lucille, Louisiana. Hence, without wasting any time, Sly boards a chopper and heads to the location. Elsewhere, John and Marta are waiting for the plane to land so that they can jump out of it. Few moments later, the plane eventually comes to a halt, but when the two are about to jump, one of the hijackers ambushes them from behind. John is ejected from the plane and Marta is kidnapped again. When two cops arrive at the scene, they immediately arrest John, even though he tries to convince them that he was the head of security on the plane. As he is being escorted away, Charles makes contact with the control tower and the chief sheriff, Mr. Biggs, answers him. Charles immediately makes his demands clear that the plane needs to be refueled inside 10 minutes. In exchange, he will let go 100 passengers. The sheriff refuses to take the deal and Charles kills 5 passengers to make a point. This terrifies Mr. Biggs and he finally gives the green light to refuel the plane. After a while, John is brought to the control tower and even Mr. Biggs thinks that he is one of the bad guys. His doubts are finally confirmed when the cunning Charles calls him once again and lies that John is one of his men, who escaped after betraying him. Hearing this, Mr. Biggs instructs his officers to lock John in the basement, but this is an impressive feat for John as he manages to fend them off and takes a police motorcycle and drives to the airstrip. In the meantime, the plane is refueled and Charles lets 100 passengers off as agreed. However, taking advantage of the commotion, he also sneaks out with the suspicious-looking guy and another man. The three then go to a nearby fair. Finally, at the control tower, the FBI shows up and requests Mr. Biggs to provide a complete account of what has happened. The head agent becomes angry when the sheriff tells them that they beat and arrested John Cutter, and finally admits that John is one of them. Meanwhile, John is trailing Charles and his men in secret at the carnival fair, determined to get them. Unfortunately, his cover is blown and one of the hijackers tries to shoot him, but misses. An innocent man absorbs the bullet and a full-fledged chaos ensues. Meanwhile, John gets on a Ferris wheel, and one of the hijackers follows him up there. The two have a little scuffle, and the man is thrown off the Ferris wheel and dies on the spot. Then John jumps on the unsuspecting Charles and eventually subdues him. Meanwhile, the FBI and the local cops are escorting him away, and Sly Del Vecchio arrives to congratulate his friend for successfully taking down the terrorist. However, little did they know that the problem is far from over. If he is not released, Charles threatens the officers that his goons in the plane will begin to kill the passengers one by one. An enraged John tries to negotiate with him, but to no avail. So, the FBI and other officials decide to let Charles back in the plane, as there is no other choice. However, they have an idea. They will place snipers on the roof of a nearby building, and once Charles and the other hijackers are seen, they will be shot dead. John is commissioned to lead the whole mission. In the next scene, 2 FBI agents lead Charles to the plane, but as they are about to enter, the snipers start shooting them instead. It turns out that the suspicious-looking guy from earlier has killed the original snipers and is now gunning down all the FBI agents. Soon, a shootout between the hijackers and the agents ensues, which results in several deaths, including that of the suspicious-looking guy. The plane also begins to move away, but John isn't about to back down. He, along with Sly, gets into Mr. Big's car and asks him to chase the plane. The concept is to take hold of the retractable landing gear and go through it into the plane. Although the stunt is an extremely dangerous one, it is a piece of cake for Mr. Cutter. He can easily attach himself to the landing gear as if it were his bread and butter. He enters and heads to the cargo hold where he slays one of the hijackers. Afterwards, he sneaks up on Sabrina from behind and knocks her out. Now, the only hijacker remaining is the infamous Charles himself. Before confronting him, however, John heads to the cockpit and asks the passengers to change course and head back to the Lake Lucille airstrip. Following that, the final showdown starts. Although John is a trained fighter, Charles can hold his own. A stray bullet in their fight shatters one of the windows, causing the loss of air pressure in the plane. The main door is also blown out, and Marta, who was standing just next to it, is left hanging for her dear life. Fortunately, John is quick and guides Charles to the broken exit. The two then exchange some final blows, and at the end, John prevails by kicking the terrorist out of the plane. Now that he's gone, all the passengers are happy and they go off and do some cringe moves. Then John calls his bosses at the control tower and tells them that he has downed Charles and they are happy. In the final scene, the plane finally lands and all the passengers are escorted to safety. John, who is fed up with all the commotion, doesn't even bother facing the reporters and simply walks away with his new girlfriend, Marta. The movie ends as Sly talks to the reporters and proudly says that he was in charge of the entire operation. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, leave a comment about your favorite movie, and we will make it next. Thanks for watching.